r/AskReddit by Reddit and chill. What do the rich buy that the poor don't even know is available for purchase? Pet cloning. Ex-boss was getting his dog cloned for $100k. Oh. I've heard of this. There's a company in Texas that does it kinda regularly apparently now. $25k for a cat. $50k for a dog. It's something like a $1.2k deposit just for them to send your vet the kit to obtain biosamples and to store the material. You pay the rest of it whenever you're ready to clone your critter. Edit. The company is called Viagen if anyone's curious. Thank you u/relative scale. Private boarding gate at certain airports. Complete with showers. A spa. Full bar. Lounge. Food. A bed. Gym. Sauna etc. Total privacy. Your luggage is scanned and taken through security by a concierge. And you're driven to the plane in a BMW 8 Series. Lax has them now. Hello. Yes. I would like to order some wealthiness just so I can have access to the private boarding gate. Yes. I'll hold. Thank you. Luxury ice cubes. Gloss Luxury Ice Co. produces perfectly square ice blocks for minimum dilution and maximum cooling. Hand carved and completely clear. These cubes are sold in bags of 50 and each bag costs $325. That's some BS. How much a drink is cool depends on how large of a surface area the ice cube has and is correlated to the rate at which the ice cube melts and thus dilutes the drink. Either you get minimum dilution by using spherical ice cubes or maximum cooling by maximizing surface area. Both at the same time is just not a thing. Specialized household staff. When someone is truly mega rich, running their household takes the same complexity as running a small to mid-size company. And management is skilled and compensated accordingly. Don't think butler, think head of operations at a luxury hotel. The staff that household managers oversee can be really specialized as well. For example, Larry Ellison has his own personal curator to oversee his collection of Asian art. They do things like advise on the purchase and sale of art in his collection, oversee storage and display of art housed on his property, oversee process of lending art for storage and display at museums. The curator will often have their own staff to conduct actual conservation work, art transport, art installation, etc. So if you've already got an in-house crew of 7 people focused on your art collection alone, imagine how big your entire household staff is. That's why you've got a household manager. One of my friends comes from a super wealthy family. We stopped by her parents' house and of course it's a mansion with a full staff. The lead maid took one look at me and guessed my size. From there she laid out several outfits that had been bought but not worn for me to take home. It was surreal. Something they do that most people don't know about is buy entire libraries at once. My sister used to work at a bookstore and told me someone came in and wanted to furnish their library with a library size purchase of books. They just wanted cherry-picked bestsellers left to the discretion of the people working there. It sounded wild. Edit. This place is a wealth of knowledge. And I'm here for it. Had no idea you could buy books by the foot. What a bizarre idea. Some wealthy people also buy books as decoration, with no intent of reading most of them. They buy books from wholesalers by the linear foot, specifying how the books look on the shelves, size, color, material of spine, etc. Without any regard for what the books actually are. They just need to fill wall space in library office rooms in their homes. Landing 747s in small airports. I grew up around Lexington, KY. The region is huge on horses, particularly thoroughbred horses. The entire city is surrounded by horse farms. And these farms breed some of the best racing horses in the world. The rich and famous will often come here to buy thoroughbreds to add to their breeding stock. One such person is a sheikh from Dubai, I think, who owns his own private 747. Now the local airport isn't rated for 747s. And it's not legal to land one there unless it's an emergency. The sheikh doesn't care though and lands his 747 there anyways. The airport fines him every time he does this, which he is totally fine with paying. I've been told that many of the upgrades to the airport over the years were almost entirely funded with money from those fines. In London, rich people figured out it was cheaper to just park on the streets illegally and just pay the fines every day than to pay for parking in the city. So the city started clamping cars. So the rich people started paying people to go and pay the fine for the car to be unclamped before they wanted to leave. I had a buddy who hired a driver, got him to get a chauffeur's license, and then made sure his Jaguar was long enough to meet criteria as a limo. And then he could legally drink in the back seat. When I traveled with him internationally, someone met us at the door when we were dropped off, and they walked us to our plane. None of that customs security stuff occurred. In Iowa, your vehicle doesn't have to meet length requirements. My husband worked with a guy whose wife got her chauffeur's license so he could drink in the backseat of their sedan. Everyone knows about mega yachts, but the very rich also enjoy their own trains, or at the very least private super luxurious train cars. With their budgets, it isn't expensive to rent space on freight lines and an engine, assuming they don't own their own. Sometimes a group of friends will hook their private cars together and motor around a continent having a big party. Now I am imagining some fat cats in his luxury train car between a bunch of loads of coal and some hobos in an empty boxcar. If you're willing to fork out $35,000 for the player and $500 per showing, you can watch films that are currently in theaters in your own private home theater. Lifewire.com link. Wow, who would have thought a private showing is only twice as much as a normal movie ticket? Private jet timeshares. For those not quite rich enough for their own private jet, or those rich people wanting to be a bit frugal. The really rich motto: if it fly, floats or duck, you rent it. Entire floors of hotels or multiple floors. Entire restaurants. Chefs from literally any restaurant in the world to cook for them, wherever they are. I saw all of those things done by a prince of Saudi Arabia. We estimated it cost him $50,000 just for the one private meal in our restaurant. Given that he had the top 4 floors of our hotel booked for the hundreds of staff to take care of him, his wife and his 2 kids, plus likely some concubines. If I'm being honest, as someone in this part of the world, being rich equals the number of people who work for you. He paid $30K just to close our restaurant for one meal. Flew his favorite chef from New York to Orlando to cook for him on his private jet, and then back again. Of course, it was likely the other private jet he had just for his staff, not for himself or his family. Make food our entire staff, all the kitchen staff, all the federal, state and local security, and him, his wife and his 2 kids. I have posted the entire story somewhere else in the past, but I couldn't find it easily. I had a buddy who taught ski lessons to another Saudi prince's little kid and had some nearly unbelievable and yet similar details during his interactions with them. That kid had an entire team around him, or probably 10 staff, plus vehicles, snowmobiles, a helicopter, and so on. This shows you, in some sense, that having people around you doing stuff you need to be done but doing it invisibly is another perk of being rich. Edit. Added some details and additional stuff. A billionaire spending $50,000 a night, every day of the week, for an entire year, is about the same ratio as a guy with $1,000 in the bank spending $18 over the course of a year, or 20-ish cents a night. You can buy houses ready to move in only with a suitcase. These houses are more than fully equipped. Everything is already there, like the whole furniture, glasses, knives, forks, spoons, tissues and toilet paper, towels, toys and games for the children, etc. Kidnapping insurance. I worked for a major company that had employees in sketchy places, war zones. We had a blanket K&R, kidnap and ransom, policy for every employee. Basically, if any employee was kidnapped, they'd pay out X millions to professional negotiators to try and free us. I never got a chance to use it, partially because I worked in Virginia the whole time. Private performances with big name artists. I was on a yacht in the Virgin Islands and some mega yacht owner pretty close to us had Christina Aguilera flown in to perform for his guest on the mega yacht. We were close enough to see the performance, not close enough to pretend to be part of the party. I saw an interview with Penn from Penn & Teller talk about doing a private show on a yacht for one of the Microsoft guys. They paid to shut down Fire Vegas show for a week. Flew Penn Teller and their crew to Asia, put them up for a week on a luxury yacht and had them do one show for Thea friends. Here was a couple of big name bands on this cruise as well. I'm not rich, but due to the fact that my dad was a top level govt official and I went to a very elite private boarding school, I hung out with some fabulously wealthy kids, i.e. rich parents. What surprised me is what a portion of very rich people don't buy. I noticed that a surprising percentage of very wealthy people don't buy super fancy cars. For example, one family who owned a world famous beverage company all drove around in nondescript SUVs or minivans. Some rich people are extremely flashy, but others are almost manic about not being seen as crass. And to those people, a supercar is crass, but apparently having a $10 million home in Palm Beach is not crass. Money talks. Wealth whispers. Edit. Thanks, kind stranger. Actual smart homes. The Alexa Google Home market is bringing it more mainstream. But for decades the wealthy elite have had smart home functionality through companies like Crestron. The controls go far beyond controlling your lights and thermostat, and integrate with more technologies. Goddamn, Crestron brings back nightmares from my AV tech days in college. Poor people. This is basically how Dubai was built almost overnight. Human organs. Steve Jobs used his fortune to game the system. A quote from the article. Jobs couldn't pay for an organ. Nor could he pay to cut the queue. But what someone with Jobs' resources could do, according to liver transplant surgeons and ethicists, is to use money and mobility to improve the odds, either by going to an area of the country where there are more organ donors, or by signing up at multiple transplant centers. It's not for anybody but the rich. It's called multiple listing. A practice some would say is unethical, said Arthur Kaplan, co-chair of the United Nations Task Force on Organ Trafficking and chair of the Department of Medical Ethics at University of Pennsylvania. abgnewsgo.com link and page equals 1. But didn't he have pancreatic cancer? A new organ doesn't cure him, right? Unique items. Occasionally you see in the news stuff like hat used in some popular movie auctioned for $80,000 or 5,000-year-old Egyptian statue auctioned for $2 million, and I think, what kind of auction do you even go to buy that kind of thing? Like, who do you have to be even be in the know about these auctions? A platinum retriever. And here I am with my bronze retriever. Underage sex parties on private islands. You don't have to go to a private island to be on an underage sex party. You just need some contacts in a third world country. This happens all the time in my country. Standalone ice machines. These are under-counter appliances whose sole purpose is to make ice. And not just any ice. The cheaper, $2,000 plus, ones make normal crescent-shaped cubes. The more expensive one, $3,000 plus, make clear ice in cube shapes. And then pallet ice makers, $4,000 plus, which is the chibble ice like Sonic has. These are the more entry-level models to boot. Some break 5 digits. I used to work for a manufacturer of these, and at some point a lady was arguing with me because we were shipping a replacement part ground instead of next day air, and she made a snide comment about if it were my ice machine she'd bet it wouldn't take this long. I told her, "Mum, I don't have an ice machine." She snapped back all proud like she'd cornered me with, "Then how do you get ice?" I told her from an ice tray, and she replied with, "Well, I don't have to do that." Yeah, well, for the next 3-5 business days you do beach. I do not miss that job at all. Pro tip for those who like Sonic Ice but are short $4,000. You can buy it by the 10-pound bag at Sonic for $1.99 plus tax. You think your platinum card is cutting it? Please. Centurion is the way to go. It'll cost 10 grand just to get one. Initial fee to join and the first annual fee. But you get everything. The Crystal Method are playing a local venue and you want to go backstage and shoot the shit with Scott Kirkland because you're interested in donating to his favorite causes, because you've always admired the guy, his political opinions, and his music. That can be arranged. Want a table at Schwa in Chicago? E in Vegas? Schloss Schauenstein in Furstenau? Or Erigor in Tokyo? They'll get you in tomorrow. Need a full itinerary planned for a week in Paris? Need that new iPhone on day one but don't want to stand in line? Want to stay at the most luxurious place in Ibiza for the days Pete Tong is at the Blue Marlin? They do this in their sleep. It's a butler and concierge and local expert and best friend that knows a guy you'll ever meet. All just a call away. Ducking like and subscribe.